Hello, darling hearts. It's Emma, GAPS coach Emma here, and I am with the beautiful Lucy DeAngelis, who is a healer. She's a natural born healer, and she's about to publish a book by the same name, which is very exciting. And so lovely to see you, Lucy. Thanks for joining me.
That's okay, Emma. Thank you for inviting me on.
I spent a lovely evening with you last night on your Chinese 5 Elements webinar, which was really interesting. And I've been mulling it all over in my mind as I was sleeping last night about the wood, the metal, the earth, the fire, the water. And so interesting that, and really sounds like a really useful diagnostic tool, actually.
Oh, incredible. I'm so pleased I learned it when I was at college with Barbara Wren 20 years ago. Yeah, it's been really, really helpful for me to help me understand my clients when they're in front of me. And yeah, it's very effective, and you can pick up clues very easily.
Yeah. So, Lucy, the reason I asked you to come on today is because last time we had a lovely chat, we were talking about liquid gold. That's kind of code for people. You know, when I was a smallholder, I was working with Biochar, which is tiny pieces of charcoal that you add to the compost heap. And the best way to activate it was to basically put it into animal bedding, let the animals poo and pee on it.
Right. Yes.
Or put it into a pot and use human manure or human pee-pee on it.
Yes.
It's the best way to activate it. And I started to look into this and read some little pamphlets. One was called Liquid Gold, and it spoke of urine as being this beautiful balanced substance that is full of minerals, and it's completely, what's the word, when it comes out, it's relatively sterile.
Yes.
Which really surprised me, because people talk about having urinary tract infections and having bacteria overloads and things. And so, I mean, so what I wanted, and then you mentioned that some people use urine as a therapy internally. And I was like, whoa, what's that all about? And so I thought it'd be interesting for people to learn a little bit about this. And you seem as though you have a bit of background or an interest or some experience. So hit us, Lucy. What's the story with that liquid gold?
Well, I first heard about it when I started training with Barbara Wren at the College of Natural Nutrition, 1999. I hadn't heard of anything. I heard of like Hollywood stars saying that they drank it. There's a famous British star who said, and it was like a bit of curiosity, but I didn't know anything about it until I went on her course to be a naturopath, and she started talking about urine therapy as a healing tool.
Could you tell us her name again? Sorry, Barbara
Wren. She's written 2 books, Cellular Awakening, and sorry, I've got something in my throat, and Our Return to the Light. So her philosophy is all about looking at the cell. So it's all about going back to the building blocks of the body. And if you help the cells work, then the rest of the body is going to follow suit.
Excellent.
So,
beautiful titles, really inspiring, beautiful titles.
And she talks all about light, how we light bodies, and how when our cells are healthy, we can access light from the sun, and we can get 60% of our energy from light from the sun.
Wow. So that kind of explains breatharianism a little bit then, doesn't it?
Yes, which I think humans may evolve towards. And it also explains children in a sense, because when our cells are open and clear, we don't need to eat much or drink much because we're getting energy from light. But as we age and we create stress in our life, or we are affected by stress in our life from challenging foodstuffs, emotional stress, environmental stress, then the cells start to become coated in cholesterol and they start to build up toxins and waste and mucus. Mucus is created by the body to entrap toxins. So they start to become coated and dirty. And then we can't access the light anymore, and so we get a diagnosis of SAD syndrome, and especially in this country, in England, a lot of people get very, very depressed,
which stands for seasonal affected disorder. You're affected by the seasons. When the light changes and it's wintertime, you get a bit low because you haven't got enough light.
Yes,
this is so interesting.
Yes, but if you can understand the cell and work with essential fatty acids, which help to signal to the liver not to create excess cholesterol, which you apply around the cell as a protective mechanism, and give the body lots of omega-3, omega-6, which we need in balance, and they help to build a new cell, a new phospholipid membrane that allows the light in. And so that can help us cope with winter months. But because modern people are not getting these essential fats, or they're getting the wrong form, as in damaged fats, trans fats, which is
from vegetable oils, which is from refined vegetable oils,
Yes.
The wrong fats.
And margarine is a trans fat. And we're not getting the essential fats, then our cells, our bodies are struggling with getting the light in.
Hence the idea of cod liver oil through the winter, which is a big GAPS thing that we always promote. Get your cod liver oil down you in the winter. Did you ever see that little, there was a talk or something that Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt gave?
Yes.
He spoke about, they did an experiment. They somehow managed to find a way to measure the photons of light that fly off a human being and compared that to a rat or a dog, for instance, and to see how many photons of light fly off us compared to the animal world. And we're a bit off the scale compared to the animal world. Dogs and cats might have a few, but when they measure a human, you can really measure the photons flying off. So a dying man volunteered himself to be measured as in the weeks coming up to his death.
Right.
And the graph sort of went, this was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on the Thursday he died, whereupon the graph just went off the scale with the photons just pew. That was the measuring of the light leaving the body. We are light beings. When I read that or heard that or whatever it was, and I told my 18-year-old daughter, actually, the tears welled up in her eyes because it was for her, it was a confirmation of it's true. We are light beings.
Yes.
Not a story that mum's telling me. It's like, wow, fascinating. So we can use food as light. And another thing, I often look at the similarities between the molecular structure of chlorophyll with magnesium in the middle, and it's a sort of hexagonal shape, and heme as in hemoglobin, which is the hexagonal shape with iron at the center. But when you look at those two molecular structures, they're virtually identical. And if chlorophyll is that wonderful stuff that just stares at the sun and then makes energy, what makes us think that we're not capable of the same thing? Really?
Well, we are, but I think if you're living in somewhere hot, and you're not full of stress and you're meditating all day, you can just live off fruit and not much food. But we're living in the northern climate, in a cold winter, damp winter, where we're meant to be hibernating, and this is why we need to work with the seasons and eat what is around us, not what's being flown from the other side of the world, that's diverting water from villages, etc. I've just heard that Boris has signed a deal to transport grain-fed beef all the way over from Australia. Now that is a form of madness.
Especially since grain causes the animals to have dysbiosis and get acidic and is toxic. So it's grain-fed. It's not worth eating.
Yeah, we are the result of the food we're eating, and grain-fed is too high in omega-6, and we're getting too much omega-6 from all the vegetable oils and seed oils. What was I saying? So in the Second World War, we were the healthiest because we were eating what was in our environment. We were eating more wildly. But anyway, let's go back to.
Sorry, we digressed.
Yes. So we're light bodies, but we're also water bodies. So we're 70% water. Without water, the body can't break down food properly. It's like the body's like an engine. It needs water. It needs its fuel. And what I learned is that the kidneys are a blood filtration system, not a waste disposable system. The colon is our waste disposable unit. But what I have discovered over the years is that the more toxic that humans are, the more the routes of elimination will push toxicity onto the kidneys. So the liver is the main organ of filtering, of detoxification, which then sends waste to the colon. So they work together. Yeah, so they're like they're like our toilet. Now imagine if there's no water in the system, waste gets retained. Try and flush a loo without water, waste gets retained. It's the same with our bodies. We need water to be continually flushing waste through us. So the kidneys basically were designed to balance our electrolytes and just keep balancing our electrolytes, really, because they are always we always get too much sodium and not enough magnesium.
So that's interesting, because on GAPS we're always being told by Dr. Natasha, this is for people who starting off on GAPS at least, to put a lot of sea salt in the stock pot, a lot of to season sea salt liberally, to does she
explain why?
Not really, no.
Okay, because Barbara is the opposite, and this all goes back to Gerson. Which is Gerson was an MD who cured himself of migraines in the 1930s, and then he went on to create the Gerson therapy, which is all about juicing and coffee enemas, and it's all about a high potassium, low sodium diet. We were taught that the body, maybe this is a theory, it might be wrong, but this is a theory that if we came from the sea where sodium was abundant and potassium wasn't, and we became land animals where potassium was abundant and sodium wasn't, that we evolved to hold on to sodium more. So the kidneys hold on to sodium more than it does potassium. But also we're spraying our food with sodium chloride. Is it sodium chloride? Which
is basically salt, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a rock. Yeah, so it's an inorganic mineral, and a mineral is also an electrolyte. So it's inorganic. Now, the trend at the moment is to consume lots of celery. And celery contains bioavailable organic sodium. So that makes more sense because you're flooding the body with the sodium in the right form that the body and cells recognize. The body and cells do not recognize rocks. So, for example, I can't eat chalk to get calcium. I can't eat the soil to get my iron. The plants take up the nutrients from the soil, then we eat the plants, or the animals eat the plants and we eat the animals. So I was taught that the imbalance has an effect on the pH in the blood, and the body is always stealing calcium to buffer that, and that's the picture of osteoporosis. So it's all about getting the balance right of our electrolytes. And because we haven't been, as humans, eating the right diet for our physiology, then most humans walking around now have cells that are not in balance. The electrolytes are not in balance. So there's 4 electrolytes, as you know: sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And they need to be in complete balance. So the kidneys and water system are constantly filtering that, but also urine is our blueprint. So it was what is in our urine was in our blood a few seconds ago. Yeah, so it's the blueprint of us. Urine acts homeopathically, and you can it's an incredible liquid, because it echoes you, who you really are. I can't really explain this properly. It's really difficult to explain.
No, it's interesting. It's lovely. Yeah.
So it contains all the information about you, basically. So this is why it's really effective. And I don't know if any of you, if you've, Emma, listened to Andrew Norton Webber, Aquarius the Water Bearer. He talks a lot about distilled water and urine. Andrew Norton Webber, Aquarius the Water Bearer. And he talks about how he used urine to heal himself from any allergic reaction. So, for example, he was allergic to wasp stings, and he got stung by a wasp once, ended up in hospital, had, you know, all the doctors and nurses around him saving his life. And then he learned all about urine by listening to a guru, and he said to himself, well, wouldn't it be funny if I could test this and get stung again? What happens? He gets stung again. And he had his keys in one hand, an EpiPen in the other, all the while taking this urine 15 seconds after you're stung, putting it in your mouth and holding it where your lymph is picking up messages and reading it. It's reading your urine. So he sat there and nothing happened, because the antidote is in the urine 15 seconds after. So
wow.
with this knowledge, we don't have to we can go out in the world and not be scared of being bitten. Even if you haven't got a cup, or you just have to find a way to pee and just go like that. We carry the antidote. And it's like that theory that people say, well, we've got everything we need. We've got the sun, the earth, urine, and perhaps yoga, maybe, I don't know.
Breath work.
That's all we need. That's all we need, really, ultimately. We don't need all these contraptions.
How fascinating that we are. It really confirms to me that we are remarkable beings with just unbelievable resilience and healing powers. You know, we've got it all. We've really got it all.
But we were the witch hunts took all that power away. So the witch hunts, as well as murdering 8 million women and 1 million men, for the rest of the witnesses in the world, it brought a huge amount of fear that we couldn't listen within, and that we had to give our power away to priests and the church and government and big pharma. So now we're coming full circle, and people are realizing this, and we're taking our power back. Now, I've been using urine, and this is where it gets controversial, on my face.
Okay.
And the reason being is that if you look at every beauty cream on the planet, it will contain something called urea. I think it's called a different name now, but it's urine from horses or cows. Yeah. Now, the reason being that if I was to put olive oil on my skin and just rub it in, it would just take ages to go in. Yeah. But if you put urine on, the urine makes it sink in.
Wow. So it acts a bit like DMSO.
Oh, is that what DMS? Yeah. So it's that's why it's in beauty creams, to help the oil sink in.
Right.
I've really got to research and find out what they actually call it now, because they must be labeling it and calling it something else. So they're not calling it urea anymore. Now, E45 cream, which is the cream for eczema that everyone uses, it's rich in urea.
Interesting. That's a petroleum-based product, and the doctors often hand out for eczema. Yeah.
So what I recommend is either using linseed oil, which is omega-3, which is an essential fat, or olive oil on your face with urine. So every morning, for example, I'll use olive oil to wash my face, and then I get a rough hot flannel, and wash my face off. So I'm using olive oil, which is rich in vitamin E. It's a lovely fat. My grandmother, she used to put butter on her face.
Yeah. Well, we use tallow. We use a tallow balm with gaps to
Okay.
help people with eczema. We mix a little bit of tallow with olive oil and a drop of lavender. And sometimes even a big spoon of 24-hour fermented cream, as that recolonizes the skin with a good bacteria as well. And
the trouble with all the creams is they're full of omega-6 seed oils, which get damaged by heat and light.
Right.
So what you're doing is good, you know, using tallow, and that's what I'm seeing now. I've just made some creams with some lard, shea butter, cocoa butter, and what else? Something else.
Basically, it needs to be all edible, doesn't it? Virtually, it needs to all be edible. Whatever you put on our skin, it needs to be edible, because your skin's just going to drink it up and suck it in. Yeah. So urine apparently is edible.
Yes. So what I do is I wash my face. Yeah, and then what I do is I pee into a pot every day. I clean the pot out with tea tree oil, so it's always clean. Pee in my pot every morning. Not the first lot, and then I have that in the bathroom, and then I get some olive oil on a pad, pour the urine over, and then just wash it all over, and on my hands. And if I've got some dryness just on my skin, if you've been burnt, if you've got eczema, it's just the most soothing thing you can use.
Wonderful. Yeah. So interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a real eye-opener for me. So I'll try and put the link to that Aquarius, the water bearer, Andrew Norton Webber, and can the people find you on? Where can people find you, Lucy, and your work?
Natural Born Healing on Facebook. I've got a page. I've got a website, www.naturalbornhealer.co.uk. I'm on Telegram as well. It's Natural Born Healing. Just look up Natural Born Healing and something will come up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being with us today and filling us in on that really fascinating, really interesting. Now people can go away and do their own research now if they want to look into it. But
if they want to start by reading this book, it's called The Water of Life. Is it called The Water of Life?
Beautiful.
By Armstrong. It's a really good introduction.
Great.
To urine and urine healing on the body. You can heal anything with urine, because again, it's acting homeopathically,
because we've got to start using these kitchen sink remedies, I think. Now it's essential, really. And we mustn't be afraid of it. And you know, you and I are both of a certain age where it's like nothing really matters anymore. So I mean, everything matters, but we're kind of free from the, I wonder what people will say, or I wonder what people will think. It's like, I don't care what anyone says or what anyone thinks. I'm going to trust my gut instincts and go for it. So full power.
If you explain it properly, then people will get it. People will understand.
Yeah. Lucy, so lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me.
That's all right.
You.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.